And it's good for a blue team first down to the 26-yard line. A.J. Barner's first grab of the afternoon, and a new running back into the game for the blue team. It's freshman Cole Cabana, who prepped in Glendale with the team. He gets his first handoff right up the middle, and he is swallowed up at the 25-yard line. Pickup of maybe a yard. Tackle made by the big defensive lineman Rayshon Benny. Brings up second down and 9 for the blue team. The blue team has huddled on every single play. Jack Tuttle down to one knee, breaks the huddle. To the line they go. Two receivers left, one right. Mullings, the running back, to the left of Tuttle. Freddie Moore in motion from right to left behind the quarterback. Tuttle, a perfect pocket, dropping to throw, just lofts it out of bounds. Nowhere close to the field of play on the left side. Third down and 9. Upcoming from the blue team. There was no pressure, but he just felt the need to throw it out of bounds.
And Zach, another thing that I've been looking forward to for this game is seeing the offensive line combinations for both squads. Michigan, something Mike Hart said was that he thinks this is the deepest offensive line room that this team's had since he's been with the University of Michigan as the running backs coach. I'm really interested to see how these different combinations play out because it's not a lock who the starters are going to be.
A tight bunch to the left. Tuttle hands off to Khalil Mullings. Got some space inside the 20 and down to the 18-yard line. I think they're going to be shy by a yard. And they're going to go quick to the line on fourth down and 1. So the blue team going for it for the second time on fourth down. They're 1 for 1 so far on this drive. Tuttle the snap, handoff Khalil Mullings right up the middle. This will depend on the spot. Swallowed up by the interior defensive line of the Maize team, and they're going to give him a first down. That's the big running back, Khalil Mullings, doing the dirty work. 6'2", 230 pounds of him, and he got a push from Jack Tuttle. And the blue team picks up their 4th first down of this drive.
This has been a sustained drive we've seen from the Indiana transfer, Jack Tuttle at quarterback. Moving his team down the field. Used his legs, used his arm.
He's in the shotgun here. Cole Cabana, the running back to the left of him. Freddie Moore in motion from right to left. Fakes the handoff to Cabana. He'll keep it and slide down safely at the 16-yard line. The official on the far side would not give him the progress after the slide, so second down and 10 upcoming here for the blue team. They'll substitute A.J. Barner to the sideline. Samaj Morgan, that is into the game for the blue team. So a tight end for a receiver. Jack Tuttle's looked good throwing the ball. He's putting the ball on a line. But they've been able to run the ball pretty well on this drive. Second down and 10 from the left hash. Just above 2 minutes to play here in the first quarter of the 2023 spring game. Cabana, the running back, gets the handoff from Tuttle right up the middle, a little bit of space, and he squirms his way down to the 11-yard line. That cuts second down in half. We can safely call it third down and 5.
And it's crazy that Cole Cabana just a couple of months ago was playing high school football not too far from here in Dexter, Michigan. These freshmen that come in midway through coming in at the end of the winter for the spring semester, the winter semester, they're young and they're getting a taste of college ball early.
And there were a lot of them, too, that prepped with the team down in Glendale for the Fiesta Bowl. They obviously did not dress, but they got to practice with the team much like Will Johnson did down in Miami a year prior. Tuttle in the shotgun, takes a snap, back to throw, looks right, steps up. He's going to keep it 10-yard line, dives to the 6-yard line. He undercuts Khalil Mullings, who falls on his back, but that's good for a first down. So there's the 5th first down on the drive for the blue team. First down and goal upcoming for the men wearing blue. So we'll get our first look now at freshman tight end Zach Marshall. The Indiana transfer A.J. Barner back to the sideline. Blue team sends Rolap wide to the right, Moore wide to the left. Khalil Mullings is the running back. Two tight ends in the set. Tuttle hands off to Khalil Mullings inside the 4 and drives to the 3-yard line where he's taken down by the captain, Mike Sainristil. How big is that Sainristil came back for one more year?
Another one of those guys, when you talk about that valiant effort from Valiant to keep this team together and kind of run it back, like they said. That's what this new age world of NIL is you're going to see more of these guys coming back for one more season because the money is there and it's worth their time to come back. They don't feel like they're risking their pro careers as much.
Second down and goal from the 3. Handoff Khalil Mullings right up the middle and into the end zone. Touchdown, Michigan. The blue team cashes in first. A 3-yard tote from Khalil Mullings right into the end zone on a handoff from Jack Tuttle. And the blue team takes a 6-0 lead after the Maize team turns it over on their first drive. Jack Tuttle, a really impressive drive. His first look in a Michigan uniform.
Very, very impressive stuff we saw from Tuttle. Like you said, he's spent 4 years at Indiana, a year at Utah. He's a seasoned guy. He's a veteran. He's been in these kind of situations before, so he's just trying to show this coaching staff and the Ann Arbor faithful what he can do.
Extra point for Charlie Menser. Joe Taylor holds. Greg Tarr snaps. The kick is up, and it is right in between the uprights. 7-0. Blue team on a 3-yard carry from Khalil Mullings. A very lengthy drive following the interception of quarterback J.J. McCarthy. Jack Tuttle drives the blue team from left to right all the way down the field, and they cash in on their first drive to go up 1 touchdown. I think impressive is an understatement on that first drive for the blue team. I think a lot is similar between the game that J.J. McCarthy plays and the game that Jack Tuttle plays. It's just that Tuttle is more experienced at the quarterback position, and it's obvious who the starter for this team will be come the fall.
No questions like last year regarding the starting quarterback position. And I think that's another thing to be excited about for this team is you get a whole offseason of J.J. McCarthy knowing he's the guy getting all those first-team reps. There's not that looming cloud, that question mark this whole offseason. It's 100% sure who the guy is at quarterback coming into the season come August, come September.
And we certainly wish all the best at Iowa for Cade McNamara and Eric All as well.
You saw a number of Michigan players when both of those players announced their decisions to transfer to Iowa, saying, hope to see you in Indianapolis in December.
Not on the schedule this coming fall, but always a chance that Michigan and Iowa square off in Indianapolis. Charlie Menser kicks it away. Short kick again. Keyshawn Harris fields it at the 15-yard line. Just above the right hash, calls for a fair catch, and the Maize team will get their second chance on offense. J.J. McCarthy threw an interception to Quentin Johnson on the first drive, and the blue team marched all the way down the field on what was a very lengthy drive to take a 7-0 lead.
J.J. McCarthy and company back on the field now. Cornelius Johnson, Peyton O'Leary, two of those main weapons on the outside for McCarthy and the Maize team. O'Leary's a guy that you heard a lot of positive things about last season, just kind of buried on the depth chart. He might get a couple more opportunities this season.
The receiver room is still packed up pretty nicely. You've still got Cornelius Johnson. You've got Roman Wilson. A.J. Henning is back as well. But you mentioned it, guys like Peyton O'Leary, Darius Clemens, Tyler Morris, who got a lot of action last year.
Clemens is a guy, and Morris, too, are two guys that I'm really excited to see with the potentially more expanded role. Clemens has that prototypical size on the outside.
McCarthy in the shotgun. Only 11 seconds left in this first quarter. Fakes the handoff. Franklin steps up, looking deep down the right sideline. Got a man out there, caught by Johnson, and out of bounds at the 47-yard line.
And it is so nice to be able to see Michigan throwing the football down the field early in games. We saw it so often last year that they were able to just kind of ground and pound teams to death. It's fun to be able to see McCarthy open it up a little bit in this spring game.
And that's going to take us down to the end of the first quarter. We've played one for Michigan Stadium. The score is Blue Team 7, Maize Team 0 at the Big House to kick off this 2023 spring game and to conclude Michigan's practice time here in the spring of 23. That was a much better looking pass from JJ than obviously the final pass on the last drive, which resulted in a pick. And that's a debate that I wanted to have a conversation with you about is who is the second cornerback for Michigan? We know Will Johnson, CB1.
No questions about
They lost Jamon Green. They lost DJ Turner. I think this team was hoping one of them would come back. But you can't blame them for going on to pursue their dream. But I think guys like Amarion Walker that you talked about, I think guys like Quentin Johnson, who got a very expanded role in that game against TCU, he was covering Quentin Johnston in the second quarter of that game because Michigan could not get the defense off the field. And you and I were talking about it after the game. Who exactly next season will be the second cornerback? And it looks like right now we're getting a look at potentially who that might be.
Yeah, and talking about Jamon Green and DJ Turner. DJ Turner might have played his way into a borderline first-round draft pick with the show he put on at the Combine. I mean, he ran the fastest 40 time out of any player at the Combine. I sure was not expecting that, but all the credit to DJ Turner for showing off those wheels and raising his stock as much as possible. But for this team next year, obviously, like I said, we've heard a lot about Amarion Walker with his size on the outside. This coaching staff has been raving about him, but Jaden McBurrows is another name to throw out there that will definitely get the reps and a chance at that CB2 spot. But
I think most of last season with not only an ACL at the beginning, but also the concussion after the Michigan State incident.
So he's another guy to throw out there, and nothing is set in stone yet, and I'm sure this coaching staff is still toying around with it, but it'll be fun to see over the summer who's able to kind of pull away potentially in that CB2 spot. And I'm sure it might change throughout the season as well. But one thing's for certain, and that's number 2 on the defensive side of the ball will be a potential star for this Michigan team.
We talked about it earlier, the returning production of this team. When we're using comparisons, they returned about 15 to 20 more % of their starting production in comparison to Ohio State, who obviously is number 1 on the schedule when you look at in terms of competitiveness between these two. And we want to mention as well, in the slot far side is Amarion Walker. He is covering Peyton O'Leary right now, as he's going to go both ways this year. After the long pickup, second quarter begins with McCarthy handing off right side to Leon Franklin. He's hit multiple times and finally knocked down right at midfield after a pickup of 3. Kenneth Grant in there, Makari Page in there, 2nd down and 7 upcoming.
There's so many question marks for this team. Well, not so many question marks, but there's just a couple, but they're big ones. And tight end's another one of those spots that Michigan lost 2 of their top guys.
Jake Thaw in motion right to left. He'll line up in the far slot. He'll join Peyton O'Leary on the left side. Darius Clemens one-on-one down here with Amarion Walker. J.J. McCarthy back in the shotgun. Isaiah Gash to his left. Hands off Gash right up the middle. The former walk-on picks up a good chunk on 2nd down. It'll be 3rd down and 2. Let's give them 4. We'll call it 3rd down and 3 upcoming.
And Zach, obviously, at the tight end spot, Colston Loveland is probably that number 1 guy that you have circled on the depth chart. But after that, we've talked about A.J. Barner, the Indiana transfer, a couple of other guys that are Hibner lower on the depth chart last season that are going to get a chance to really step up because we know how much Michigan loves to use a number of tight ends.
We knew that Trevor Keegan was only going to play 1 quarter today. That is true. He is on the far sideline with the rest of the Maize team. 3rd down and 3, handoff to Leon Franklin. He's cut out, ball's loose at the 40-yard line. It's on the ground. There's a scrum for it at the 39, and I think the blue team has it.
And we didn't quite get a number there. Somebody had a chance at it, couldn't quite.
It looked like it was Amarion Walker that wanted to pick it up and start running the other way. He's got a 4.240 time. Still no sign from this crew, and it looks like the blue team has it, and they do. It's Amarion Walker that comes out of the scrum with the football. He had 1 shot at it, and I guess he got it on the second. Second turnover on as many drives for the Maize team. First a J.J. McCarthy interception, then the Leon Franklin fumble on what looked like was going to be a fresh set of downs.
And Mike Hart, I'm sure, is not pleased with his team. Jay Harbaugh, on the other hand, got to be ecstatic with his squad on the defensive side, making plays, forcing turnovers, giving Tuttle and company another chance to extend that 7-0 lead.
So the blue team now with the football. And our first look at Benjamin Hall, the freshman running back in the pistol behind Jack Tuttle, the IU transfer. Hands off, Hall right up the middle, being dragged down by Rayshawn Benny. He moves forward for 4 yards, 2nd down and 6. It didn't look like that was going to go anywhere, but Benjamin Hall is a big-bodied running back. Not that tall, 5'11", 235. Went to North Cobb High School in Georgia. Tuttle back in the shotgun. Zach Marshall, the freshman tight end, in motion from right to left. Tuttle has the snap, back to throw, looks, steps up. He's going to keep it 45-yard line, takes a big hit at the 49. Jimmy Roller covers him up. But again, this officiating crew is they're being very tight on when he starts his slide. So he's going to be shy of a first down by a yard, 3rd down and 1. I would expect him to keep it on the ground the whole way here on 3rd and 1.
Yeah, Tuttle, we've seen him take off a couple of times here. Took a bit of a lick there, and Tuttle, he's not wearing the white jersey. He's wearing the blue. J.J. McCarthy has the white jersey on, so there's no hitting him like that. But Tuttle,
only a yard to get. Tuttle hands off to Khalil Mullings right up the middle. Almost got away from Roller. He would have been on the way to the end zone, but Roller pulls him down by his right foot. It's still good enough for a first down inside Maize territory to the 48-yard line. And Khalil Mullings continues to get the bulk of the load for the blue team.
and Mullings had a runway straight to the end zone. If he was able to break that tackle there, it would have been nothing but a foot race. This Maize defense has been penetrable on the ground so far.
Roman Wilson lines up wide to the left for the blue team here. He's against Jaden McBurrows one-on-one. Jack Tuttle in the shotgun. Hands off. Khalil Mullings trying the right side, trying to stiff arm away from Keyshawn Harris, cannot get away from him. And he is followed up by Kayshawn Bennett, who knocks him to the turf. No pickup there. It'll be 2nd down and 10.
The Maize team swarming to the football there. A number of Maize jerseys around Khalil Mullings, the ball carrier for the blue team.
He just trotted onto the field. I'm excited to see how Jair Hill will play. Michigan stole him away from Notre Dame at the last moment in this last cycle in the recruiting class. He's lined up here on the near side, 40-yard line at the hash mark, covering up Freddie Moore. Tuttle in the shotgun, back to throw it. Looks, escapes pressure. Now he'll just throw it to the sideline. It is picked off by the Maize team. Big time turnover. Zeke Berry, the sophomore defensive back, strips it away.
We were just talking about how well Jack Tuttle been playing. Pressure coming off the edge there, forced to try to break, contain, and roll out. And Zeke Berry just runs right underneath that one in center field. Pass was, I think he was trying to get it out of bounds, but didn't quite get it there. Left it hanging. Zeke Berry comes away with the easy interception.
It looked like the pass was either intended. There was a receiver out there, and I'd love to give you a name. However, the scoreboards, both in the north and south end zones, are still absent due to this project that we'll touch on throughout this drive. J.J. McCarthy empty in the shotgun, takes the snap, back to throw it, quick left side, incomplete. He had a man out there. Christian Dixon bobbled it, and he dropped it. In coverage for the blue team that time was Miles Pollard, twin brother of Micah, who's playing for the Maize team today.
Talking about Zeke Berry, he's another one of these young safeties that Michigan has on the roster. That's such a deep position for this team. And Mike Sainer still plays some of that nickel, but you have R.J. Moten, Makari Page, Zeke Berry. We've talked about Keon Sabb already. This is a really deep position for this team.
The question marks in the defensive backfield are pretty much all at the cornerback position for that number 2 spot. JJ still in the shotgun, takes the snap. Dunlap to his left, back to throw it, pressure off his backside, and they're going to call it a sack. It's Josiah Stort, the transfer from Coastal Carolina, put both hands in the air, said, "I'm not touching you, number 9. And technically, that is a sack for Josiah Stort. He had 3.5 last season for Coastal Carolina. He was all Sun Belt first team in 2021, All Sun Belt second team in 2022, and he was one of the highest touted transfer recruits in the country at the defensive end spot.
And Michigan got active in the portal, landed a number of high-impact transfers. We'll touch on them throughout the day.
JJ in the shotgun again, takes a low snap, steps up in the pocket. It's pretty clean now. He'll roll out to his right, evading some pressure at the 25-yard line. Flag down. JJ throws. It was complete to Clemens, but I think Jim Harbaugh is going to whistle this one dead prior to the pass.
And looked
This
like
should be holding.
Braden McGregor was coming off the edge, too. It's such a tough call for these officials to make because McGregor's coming off and could get a handout and grab J.J. McCarthy, but McCarthy starts to take off, so it's a tough call to make if you're going to rule him down or not.
So there is a holding penalty. It's on the right tackle, Trente Jones, who got a big grasp of Braden McGregor's jersey. 6:46 showing here in the second quarter. The blue team leads it 7-0 on a Khalil Mullings touchdown run from 3 yards out. And remember, no scoreboards here at Michigan Stadium today for this 2023 spring game team scrimmage between the Maize and the Blue. Blue team coached by Jay Harbaugh. The Maize team coached by former Michigan running back Mike Hart. JJ out of the gun. Running back to his left is Isaiah Gash. Played a lot in the Illinois game a year ago. Gets a delayed handoff to the left side, 25-yard line, and he rushes his way up to the 29.
And Zach, you talked about it at the top of the broadcast. Who's going to be that RB3 for Michigan? We saw with the injury to Blake Corum at the end of the season, and Donovan Edwards was banged up throughout the year. This third running back on the team is going to get a lot of tread, and Michigan didn't really have a guy that stepped up. That's a big question mark this offseason.
The all-time punter, Tommy Dolman, is into the game to kick this one away on 4th down and 22. It's a good snap from Greg Tarr, a spiraling kick. Goes the distance to Samaj Morgan, who calls for a fair catch at the 16-yard line on the right hash of the south side of Michigan Stadium. So, the blue team leading the way here in the spring game. The small clock reads 5:45 in the north end zone. And all those people, about 25,000 repping Maize and Blue here today from Michigan Stadium, they've got no clue how much time is on the clock and what the score is, although most people probably have a grasp that it's 7-0, only one touchdown and an extra point scored so far in this game. But Jack Tuttle will still have the quarterback duties for the blue team. Mullings to his left, quick throw right side. There is the tight end, A.J. Barner, his former teammate at Indiana, to the 22-yard line. That cuts first down in half, second down and 5 upcoming.
And Zach, someone I want to highlight on this defense of the Maize team is the Nebraska transfer at linebacker, Ernest Hausman. He's a guy that could come in and make a big impact at the linebacker position for Michigan, an area that was kind of thin last year. They were able to bring back Mike Barrett, but he's a guy that could come in and make a big impact.
Up under center, Jack Tuttle. 2 tight ends tight to the left. Roman Wilson now suffocates in. Handoff over the left side. Khalil Mullings got some space across the 30, across the 35, and dives to the 41-yard line. He's looked pretty good on his limited carries so far today. Khalil Mullings for the blue team. Quick to the line goes the blue. Maize team having some trouble getting set on defense. They show 4 down linemen, 2 linebackers, 2 deep safeties as well. Jack Tuttle back in the shotgun. Hands off over the right side. Khalil Mullings pondering over where to go, and he's dragged down right at the line of scrimmage by Jaden McBurrows. And this is an odd feeling for us because we know that clock is moving at 4:40, 7-0 blue team. But without these scoreboards on both the north and south sides, it's difficult to tell exactly what the down and distance is, how much time, what the score is, because of this $37 million project, which they expected to cost $41 million. The other $4 million that they saved is going to scoreboards on the rest of campus, including Cliff Keen Arena, baseball, softball, and field hockey over at Oker Field. 2nd down and 10. Jack Tuttle takes the snap. Hands off over the left side. It's Cabana. Picks up 3.
Yeah, there's nothing but skeletons of the scoreboards up there now. Just the metal framework. They're expanding them, making them a little bit wider. The screen's a little bit bigger and improving the sound system in there as well.
Right. There's a new audio system being implanted in the seating bowl and the concourse. There will be significantly larger screens. The last installation was in 2011. 3rd down and 7 here for the blue team, splitting the hashes, moving from right to left. Ball currently sits at the blue 44, just on the bottom right corner of the Michigan logo at midfield. Tuttle with the snap, pressure coming, steps up, he's hit, he's going to get sacked. Back at the 36-yard line, pressure came first from Micah Pollard, and Rayshawn Benny finishes him off. And he meets Mike Sainristil on the sideline to say, job well done. And bring up 4th down, and the all-time punter, Tommy Dolman, back onto the field for the Maize team.
And special teams, Tommy Dolman on the field right now. That's another spot. Brad Robbins, he's no longer here. He's graduated. He's off to the NFL draft potentially. Tommy Dolman's a guy that is listed as both kicker and punter. We haven't got to see a lot of him. Special teams was a spot that Michigan was so consistent at.
240 and rolling. Tommy Dolman kicking into the wind this time. Another decent punt. Jake Thaw will field it near side at the 25-yard line. 45, Greg Tarr met him downfield first. And that's where the Maize team will begin. So I would assume one more drive for J.J. McCarthy before handing the reins over to Davis Warren for the 3rd quarter.
Yeah, likely not going to see McCarthy for the whole contest here. No sense in.
Wonder if maybe some of these Michigan fans that are in attendance today may be a little bit antsy about J.J. McCarthy. Really no reason to be here in the spring. Remember, he was also dealing with an injury of his own throughout the offseason. Leon Franklin, the running back, to his right. Out of the shotgun, he wears number 9 in white. J.J. McCarthy, the junior quarterback from Naperville, Indiana. Fakes the handoff to Leon Franklin. J.J. keeps around right end. He's tapped down with 2 hands by Josiah Stortz. Amarion Walker and Darius Clemens pushing back and forth here at the near sideline. That's a loss of a yard on the last play. J.J. McCarthy on the carry, 2nd down and 11.
We haven't really seen this Maize team get into rhythm offensively. We saw McCarthy hit Cornelius Johnson on a pass outside the numbers for about 20 yards earlier, but they haven't really been able to click and get into any kind of rhythm.
Out of the huddle and to the line, 2nd down and 11. Jake Thaw in a quick motion left to right, but then he returns back to the left side, middle of the slot. JJ has a snap, throws deep left sideline. There's a man out there. It's O'Leary inside the blue team territory and down to the 48-yard line. He had one man to beat, wasn't able to do it. Zeke Berry takes him down.
Just as I said, McCarthy's last big play was a pass outside the numbers around the 50-yard line for about 20 yards. What does he do right there? Pass outside the numbers.
Missile. 140 and moving here in the 2nd quarter. Maize team trails by 7. Greg Crippen is in at center for the Maize team. Now the junior center for the Wolverines. J.J. McCarthy takes a snap, pressure coming, throws over to the right side. That is a dime from J.J. McCarthy right into the hands of Peyton O'Leary. That's down to the 37-yard line, and J.J. starting to spin that thing here in the spring game.
And that's not an easy throw to make. Across the field on an out route outside the numbers, that's a big-time throw for McCarthy. Takes a lot of arm strength to get that ball out there with velocity.
Maize team breaks the huddle. To the line they come. Clemens goes left, Thaw goes left, O'Leary goes right. He is now joined by Matthew Hibner, who has a catch so far. JJ wearing his all-white uniform today for the Maize team in the gun. Dumps it shortly over the middle, gets a pick from the official, does Leon Franklin, and 34 is taken down by 34. Jaden Hood makes the tackle, and Jim Harbaugh calls timeout for the Maize team.
It is funny to see Coach Harbaugh, Jim Harbaugh, that is, running around in the middle of the field with
He's
his jacket
orchestrating
on.
everything. He was standing right next to J.J. McCarthy on that last throw. You think Coach Harbaugh's still going through all of his progressions like he was when he played for the Colts and the Bears over his time in the NFL?
Oh, I'm sure he does. And we saw on Jaden Davis's commitment post, it was himself in the maize and blue, and then on his left, Jim Harbaugh in the Michigan jersey, and on his right, Tom Brady in his Michigan jersey. That was a big pickup for Michigan the other day.
Oh, yeah. Big commitment. And what I was most impressed with Jaden Davis, the five-star quarterback from North Carolina, Michigan beat out Ohio State for him, but I was really impressed with his answers throughout his interview about committing early and allowing the team to build a class around a talented five-star quarterback. So 2nd down and 3 upcoming here for the Maize team, flagged down before the play.
And
I think someone got an early start.
I think that was Stewart off the edge there, and JJ's frustrated. He wanted the chance at the free play there. He was jumping up and down, giddy, just to rip one into the end zone.
Well, that encroachment penalty gives the Maize team a fresh set of downs at the blue 25. And you're right, it was Josiah Stewart, who we talked about. 2-time All-Team Sun Belt Conference player. Won first team back in 2021. Won second team just a year ago with 3.5 sacks for Coastal Carolina. Marlon Klein, the German tight end, is in the slot near right side. J.J. McCarthy has a snap. Oh, boy, Kenneth Grant ran over his man. There's a flag down. Pass is picked off in the end zone by Makari Page. He will bring it out coming the other way at the 30-yard line near side, still on his feet to the 40. Makari Page is inside Maize territory and finally dragged down by Trente Jones. There is another flag on the play.
Hood lit up Peyton O'Leary trying to throw a block. I think that's what that second flag might be for.
And I don't think Makari Page knows about the multiple flags against his team. 2 players on the Maize team are on the far side of the field at the 10-yard line. It's Captain Mike Sainristil and Jaden McBurrows, who are waving the flag. That's the same color as the uniform they're wearing. This is going to give the Maize team a first down inside the red zone.
They're letting Makari Page know what he did doesn't matter.
And I think they're going to have to send Makari over to the oxygen tank on the sideline. That was a good return. He stayed on his feet through multiple hits, but he's going to jog his way back onto the field.
That's the funny stuff you see at the spring game that you don't get to see throughout the season. That's kind of like a half practice, half game atmosphere. These guys can just kind of be a little bit more themselves. Fun to see that from the team.
54 seconds left to play here in the second quarter. 2 fouls on the play. So both penalties are against the blue team. First one was against Miles Pollard for pass interference at the 10-yard line, and then the other was right in front of us at the 50-yard line on Jaden Hood for absolutely tracking his teammate Peyton O'Leary.
That was a big-time hit.
Oh, yeah.
That was a big-time hit.
I was confused, though, because they said after the play. It seemed like it was still a little during the play, but sure Coach Harbaugh wants those kind of penalties called when there is always a short risk of injury against his players. So 1st down and goal from the 10-yard line. Maize team looking to tie this thing up with just 54 seconds to play. Leon Franklin lines up as the running back to the right of quarterback McCarthy. Blue team shows 6 on that defensive line. JJ has the snap, throws right side. It is caught inside the 5 to O'Leary. And he gets to the 2-yard line. They're going to give him forward progress on the dive there.
And we've seen McCarthy throw a couple of
Now they're going to move
lasers
it back to the 5-yard line.
quick to the outside there, and that's a really positive sign because those are some throws that he would, I don't want to say struggle with, but wasn't as consistent with as you'd like to see. He's looked very sharp on these quick passes so far today.
The official at the 5-yard line had moved up to the 2, but the official in the corner of the end zone said he had a better angle and moved him back to the 5-yard line. Maize team calls timeout, with just 44 seconds left to play here in the second quarter. The blue team leading 7-0 here in the 2023 Michigan football spring game. A scoreboardless big house due to the $41 million renovation.
Thank you to all of our listeners tuning in to WCBN Sports live coverage of the Michigan football spring game. It's our pleasure to be back in the big house, back in the booth. I mean, it's April, but
Football's football.
Doesn't mean there's not football on. And I'm excited to be back here come the fall. Zach, so many games up here in the booth. Your last one.
Well, one last one.
As a student. Last one as a student.
Second down and goal for the Maize team. McCarthy leading the charge. Trailing by 7. Takes the snap out of the pistol. Handoff Leon Franklin. Dragged down by Cam Good and Kenneth Grant. So third down and goal. Coming up for the Maize team. That interior defensive line for the blue team, we knew they were monstrous, and they were hungry on that carry by Franklin.
Yeah, Franklin just got flat out ripped down there, spun into the dirt.
Clock melting away at 25 seconds. I think the Maize team might run one more offensive play and then maybe opt for a field goal. Timeout on the field is called by the Maize team. So a chess game being played back and forth here between the two.
And Zach, with no scoreboard, these scorekeepers on the sideline play much more in the timers, playing a much more important role because nobody else knows what's going on. You got to make sure that you're keeping track of everything accurately, and you have to wonder if these teams, if that ever becomes some kind of an issue in the game, if the coaches can't quite spot the time with there being no game clocks, or there not being game clocks all over the field.
There's only 18 seconds left to play in the second quarter. Maize team sends 2 receivers wide left, 1 tight to the right is O'Leary. He's been busy on this drive. Third down and goal from the 5-yard line. McCarthy has the snap. Back to throw. Rolling to his left. Looks. Corner. Got a man out there. Caught for a touchdown. It's Jake Thaw. And the Maize team is an extra point away from tying this baby up in the second quarter of the spring game. Jake Thaw runs to the pylon underneath the goalposts and plays hide and seek with his Maize teammates, and that's part of the game that you love here in the spring game.
Jake Thaw, a guy that was primarily seeing the field last year as a special teamer, got to see the field as a kick returner against Hawaii and some of the other early season games. Gets a chance to get in the end zone there in the spring game.
The senior from Westport, Connecticut, Staples High School. Greg Tarr will snap for the extra point. Joe Taylor from Chelsea will hold. And Tommy Dolman drills the extra point to tie this thing up 7 apiece. We're only a few ticks away from halftime here at Michigan Stadium. 10 seconds to be exact on a J.J. McCarthy missile to the back left corner of the end zone to Jake Thaw to tie it up prior to the second half here from the Big House.
It's a fun one here. Back and forth action, a couple of turnovers. Both teams have had their ups and downs, but it's been a fun game to call so far. Some of these games I feel like can get pretty bland, pretty vanilla. This has been a fun game.
I know we're almost halfway through this football game, Kelin, but from what we've seen so far, who have you been most impressed with, whether it's a returning guy or a newcomer?
Well, I think just as a whole, it's been the interior defensive line of the blue team throughout the entire game. They've been pretty dominant. And so I'm gonna have to go with the interior defensive line of the blue team. That includes Chris Jenkins, Cam Good, a number of those guys clogging up the middle.
So for the first time today, we will get to see a kickoff from Tommy Doman, who is the all-time punter. And not only is it important that he's taking over for Brad Robbins punting the ball, he will also likely be the field goal kicker for this team that lost Jake Moody.
We brought that up earlier. Jake Moody and Brad Robbins both gone. Going to be a little less consistency on the special team side for the Maize and Blue.
Well, the kickoff from Tommy Doman looked good. Yeah, the wind was at his back, but it goes through the end zone for a touchback. And there will be no return from Benjamin Hall. So, with just a couple of ticks on the clock remaining here in the second quarter, blue team takes the field with Jack Tuttle as the quarterback. Spent 5 years elsewhere before finding himself in Ann Arbor to get yet another degree. 4 years in Bloomington as a Hoosier prior to 1 year over in Utah. Straightaway handoff, Benjamin Hall, a quick step to his left now, cuts it back up the middle across the 35-yard line, and he finds his way to the 38. No timeout called from the blue team, and that will take us to half. At the break, we are all tied up, 7 apiece at the Michigan football spring game here in 2023 in a scoreboardless Michigan Stadium at the Big House in Ann Arbor. It's been a good one so far. And you mentioned the interior defensive line from the blue team has looked good. And I would say there hasn't been a glaring issue, which is a good thing for either of these teams in the first half.
A couple of turnovers, but obviously, yeah, the main kind of oddity with this game is that there's nothing but cold steel bars up behind each of the end zones.
And the scoreboard that I'm trying to keep track of is about 6 by 3 foot, and it's only in one end zone. So I got to go to my binoculars every 10 seconds to take a peek at how much time is left. We know the score, it's 7-7, but exactly how much time is left. It's crazy because the play clock is nearly bigger than the scoreboard that we're looking at.
Yeah, I can't even see it from my angle over here.
And you're 2 feet to the left of me.
Yeah.
And it's interesting, too, because the top of the scoreboard, it's a small black video board that has like an odd little overhang over it. So you can't even tell the difference between the numbers 1 and 7.
Yeah, it's a bit of a scuffed setup here that we're working with, but we're doing our best to bring everyone coverage of Michigan football. I mean, I know that this is one of the
See, I'm a little perplexed too because we're looking at the scoreboard right now and it looks like only 5 minutes for halftime, which just can't be right. However,
is it 5 minutes they're giving for halftime? Now,
that's what it looks like. But you
nice.
got to remember, a 4 and a 9 are the exact same on that scoreboard when you can't see the top electronic row.
I will say it is awesome to have played a whole half of football and it only have taken 1 hour of real time.
Right. Yeah. Well, Big Ten Network has been pretty kind to us today.
A lot of commercial breaks.
We'd be at the first media timeout if this was a real game right now.
This was the Big Ten championship game. We'd still be midway through the first quarter.
Well, another fun part about these games is we're a bit more laxed than we would throughout the regular 12 games of the campaign. So we get to talk to people that are in our comments. I mean, Kelin, do you want to answer the question? Where's your favorite place to go out on a night in Ann Arbor?
Well, as a recently turned 21-year-old.
Okay, easy.
There's a lot more options for me now. So I'm just trying to kind of expand and see. See, I haven't been to
Well,
Rick's yet.
let's twist it. Let's say your favorite dinner spot in Ann Arbor,
Favorite dinner spot in Ann Arbor?
and not a chain restaurant.
Chapala is great. Chapala is great.
Okay,
Um, Mani is some really good Italian food.
sure.
Let me think here.
I'm still a diehard for the pretzel bell.
I know you're a big pretzel bell guy. I've been there once and I wasn't the biggest fan.
Did
I
you get
think
the pretzel?
no, I didn't.
That's your problem. It's in the name, pretzel bell.
But I think I think I'm gonna have to go with Chapala. Best Mexican food in Ann Arbor. I will die on that hill.
Well, we get to interact a little bit through halftime here. So, the name Townsend Meredith, we're going to ask you where your favorite place in Ann Arbor is to go and eat, if you have one. So, we can interact with our listeners here. My name's Zach Linfield, Kelin Flynn to my left. And, well, we expect big things from WCBN this upcoming year. Our Giving Blue Day was very successful, so that our broadcasters can continue to travel and bring you coverage of all of Michigan varsity sports, or at least the majority of them, including, of course, football, basketball, and hockey, the main ones that the station will travel for, and, of course, softball, baseball. But it should be a pretty loaded up year as we look at Michigan's schedule for 2023. It starts with no travel for the first 4 weeks. They've got East Carolina, UNLV, Bowling Green, and Rutgers to begin the year.
Yeah, it'll be a fun start to the season. Not a lot of travel, but to start the year, but the road games are where it gets fun. Michigan gets to go to Penn State. Haven't been to Minnesota in a while. Get to go back to Nebraska. That's a road trip that
Tough
I'm
place to
really
play.
excited about. I mean, talking to you and Charlie about that, you guys said that that was one of the best
Really
atmospheres
electric.
you've been
They
to.
care there. They really do care.
So I'm excited about that one. Hoping that one gets to be a night game. Um, believe the Penn State game's in November, so I don't know if that would
Yep.
be the whiteout game or not. That's
They typically play the whiteout in October. It's
yeah.
always in October.
So that'll be interesting.
You get to
But
go to East Lansing,
I will be doing that. That's a fun one. I'm
take a
excited
trip
for
to
that.
Maryland. I've never been a big fan of College Park, the stadium in College Park, but the atmosphere is fun, especially now that Maryland they're on the uptick, and well,
They're gonna be a
they've
good
got a
team
pretty
next year.
familiar face coaching the offense now. Josh Gaddis is their offensive coordinator.
Yeah, his second team in 2 years after departing from Ann Arbor. Things didn't really work out in Miami, but he's looking to turn it around in Maryland, and he's got a nice young quarterback there, and not even young anymore. Talia Tagovailoa. That's
I think
gonna be one
a
of the better.
bold prediction for me is he's going to lead the country in multiple stat categories next year.
I think he's a top 3 quarterback in the conference, no question.
Who's your other two?
I think JJ's up
Where's
there,
number 9?
and I think Drew Aller Penn State has that
Sure.
potential, but we haven't really seen him yet. But he's definitely got
Yeah.
that
Michigan
5-star
fans
tag.
maybe a little bit familiar with Drew Aller. He played the majority of the second half for Penn State after Michigan. They came out heavy in the third quarter against Penn State a year ago. And what was just an odd game. I'm not looking to reminisce over much of the 2022 season, but I mean, Michigan dominated the entirety of that game except for 2 minutes when all of a sudden Sean Clifford was sprinting down the field for a touchdown, and then Curtis Jacobs took an interception off the top of somebody's helmet for a touchdown.
Yeah, it was a weird game. I remember watching that game. I was field level for that one, and it was just so bizarre because I believe Michigan was only up 1 at the half, or but they felt like they dominated the whole game, and that just goes to show how 1 or 2 plays can swing a football game. But such a I don't know. Looking at the schedule for next year, Zach, what games stick out to you? Because for me, obviously, there's Ohio State. You can't say Ohio State. I think Penn State's the one to look out for.
Yeah, I think Penn State and Ohio State, and of course Michigan, it's going to be that top 3 battle for the Big Ten East. And going to Penn State is never an easy place to play. And Michigan in the last decade really has never been perfect against the sun comes out here at Michigan Stadium, which earns a cheer from about 25,000. But they've never been great against quarterbacks that can scramble. And I think Drew Aller brings that to the table for Penn State, but that would be a pretty based answer since you brought them up. I think the home game here against Purdue, is going to be a tough one. They're losing a couple of the guys that made the Big Ten championship tough for moments in Indianapolis in early December, but I think Purdue here will be similar to the Illinois game that we saw here a year ago, and it's going to be a long pause for Michigan. They play Purdue here at home, and then they go to the East Coast for 2 games, Penn State, then Maryland. Then they return back home to what'll be likely again a top 5 matchup between Michigan and Ohio State.
And Ohio State is the team coming in this time with the big question marks for this season. Obviously, C.J. Stroud off to the NFL. Jackson Smith and Jigba didn't play most of the season, so losing him, you don't really feel a big loss there. Travion Henderson's coming back. He'll be healthy. But it's obviously at quarterback, Kyle McCord has that 5-star tag. So, and with what Ryan Day's been able to do at the quarterback position, you assume they're not going to skip a beat. But you never know. I mean, we haven't really seen much of him yet, and you hear all positive things from the quarterback room out of Columbus, but you never know until they strap on the helmet and get out on the field and play against live competition, and we haven't really seen that from Kyle McCord yet.
And I'll tell you what, it's not terribly difficult when you have talent at the quarterback position, when you have a receiver that's named Marvin Harrison, because he is
on the other side.
Abuka is there too. When you've got 2 receivers that will likely be top 5 guys in the country, it makes your job a little bit easier. So as we peer down to the clock, I don't think that says 1:30 as the special teamers have just made their way out to the field. Remember, no advertisements here on WCBN, no commercial breaks. So we are here live with you throughout the entirety of this 2023 spring game and what is the beginning to what will be a really fun season for WCBN, led by, of course, Kelin. I will be departing. Adam Bressler, our gracious leader for the last couple of years, will be departing.
Our champion leader, Charlie Brigham, with him at the helm. We're gonna miss you guys next year. I mean, that's a lot of our best leadership and our best broadcasters and just people that I really enjoy spending time with and being in the booth with. So it'll be a different vibe next year, but I'm excited. Thanks Adam for tuning in. But Zach, just talking about this Michigan football team and looking at the future. We saw 2 years ago this Michigan team in the Orange Bowl in Miami. They're going up against Nakobe Dean and Jordan Davis and that stout Georgia defense. And Dean and company absolutely demolished this Michigan offense. They completely stunted them. And then the next year, Michigan battles all the way back. Perfect regular season, Big Ten champions yet again. And they're able to get to the Fiesta Bowl, and they fall short against the TCU team that people thought that was going to be an easy win, a good draw for the team. That TCU team played an excellent football game, a couple of mistakes from Michigan, but they got the job done. Now Michigan, it kind of feels like the expectation is you win the game in November, you win the Big Ten. Now the next step is getting to the national championship game and ultimately winning the national title.
And I think college football, to a certain extent, is going to be, I don't know exactly the term to use because I think Georgia is still on top of everything right now. They just continue to reload and they reload some more. And then you've got the teams like Michigan, Ohio State. You've obviously got your Alabamas of the world. I think Penn State is close to competing. I think the Pac-12 hasn't been perfect for the longest time, but you never know. I think there are a couple teams out there that are willing and ready to start competing for a national title, but outside of Georgia, it hasn't been up for grabs really for the past 2 years.
No, because Georgia's been so dominant.
No pun intended. They're the top dog.
Yeah, they are absolutely. Then, kind of shifting focus a little bit, we should touch on this. Hunter Dickinson in the transfer portal. He's no longer going to be in Ann Arbor. You gave me a look there, Zach. What was that look?
I think it's going to be an interesting ride for Michigan basketball for the next couple of years. There are mumblings and rumblings all over campus about what this means for the team. And Sometimes it's best that you just stay out of it. That's all, but I'll leave it at.
All right. Well, we'll leave it at that then. um,
Wasn't a great ending to the season for that team, that's for
no,
sure.
no. But back to the football game. Both teams back on the field. Let's just remember that day then as the day Jaden Davis committed to Michigan.
That's what I was hoping it was going to be.
And let's talk about him because you talked about his press conference and what he said about being able to build a class around a star quarterback. Um, that's something that I think JJ McCarthy kind of followed that model. Michigan was able to build a class around him, and you saw a number of guys that were committing to Michigan say a big reason of that is because hey, we've got a 5-star guy, JJ McCarthy, that I believe in. I want to come play with him. You you would have to think that Jaden Davis is going to have a similar effect in his school, Providence
Day.
in North Carolina. They've got a number of really talented guys in that same class.
And they've got a class of 2025 offensive linemen that's the number one recruit in the country. And Michigan this morning just offered the number one wide receiver in the country out of IMG Academy, where J.J. McCarthy and Greg Crippen both played at for a year. So I think recruiting, when it comes to the 2024 and 2025 classes, I think Michigan's finally going to break that mold of not being the greatest recruiters. And I think it's going to start to just go up from there. Jaden Davis leads the way for that class, and then right behind him is a guy that Michigan didn't technically strip away from Ohio State, but they went into Ohio, and they got a really good 4-star running back named Jordan Marshall that's going to be just great for this team once he arrives on campus in, X amount of months.
And we saw Michigan go into Ohio this offseason and grab a number of guys for that 2024 class. But just looking back at the chat, no Dean University on the schedule for Michigan this football season. They've got a great sportscasting program though, up there in the Northeast. But this Michigan squad's non-conference schedule might as well have Dean University on it because they're not playing anyone.
Oh, you don't like the Pirates of East Carolina? They've been pretty historically good the last couple of years. UNLV's never been terrible. And then there's Bowling Green.
Shout out to Trey Kane, the former UNLV football player, graduate of University Liggett School, Grosse Pointe, Michigan. My alma mater.
You can't even claim Will Johnson.
I can't claim Will Johnson, but I can claim Trey Kane. He was top 5 in the country in touchdowns his senior year.
At Liggett?
At Liggett. That's right. Undefeated regular
you
season.
You and William Gregory. You guys.
William was on that team. William was teammates with him.
You didn't play?
I didn't play football, no.
I figured you'd be the star.
No. I was a runner.
Tommy Dolman walks up to the ball, kicks this one away. Benjamin Hall calls for a fair catch, allows it to bounce in front of him, but they're not going to take out kicks here in the spring game. 7-7 tie. Maize and blue teams here in the spring game at what is a scoreboardless big house in Ann Arbor. Zach Linfield here with Kelin Flynn, providing you coverage on WCBN from the WCBN Radio Booth. The sun was here, and it has since gone away.
Just as quick as it showed up, it left.
It garnered a pretty large cheer from a pretty good crowd here today. And Ann Arbor is pretty packed up on this April Fool's afternoon. New quarterback for the blue team is Alex Orji, takes over for Jack Tuttle. Samaj Morgan in motion from right to left. He joins a bunch to the left. 3 receivers wide left for Orji in the shotgun. Benjamin Hall to his right. Claps his hands, has the snap, back to throw. Looking left the whole way, throws it out there. Intended for a receiver, it's incomplete. One-on-one coverage. Harris was there, knocks down the pass that was intended for Will Rolap.
And that's a tough pass to make there. Getting it all the way out to the outside there. We saw McCarthy make that throw, but he put some real zip on the ball to get it out there.
And Alex Orji throws relatively similar to the way that Joe Milton did a couple of years ago. They've got pretty similar games in the way that Orji likes to run the football. Out of the huddle and to the line they come. Benjamin Hall, the running back, takes the handoff from Orgy. He keeps it around right end to the 12-yard line, puts his shoulder down, stares down R.J. Moten out of bounds on the right sideline. Alex Orgy's not afraid to run the football. That's for sure. Pickup of 2, 3rd down and 8.
And we saw Jack Tuttle towed it 6 times on the ground in the first half. Big shout out to the Michigan football comms department for getting us these freshly printed halftime stats quickly.
And typically up here, it's pretty packed up with people in the rooms to our right and left. Kelin and I are up here alone today. Jack Tuttle is back in the game at quarterback. Gets a man to jump off sides, flag down. Tuttle's going to take a shot on the right sideline. It's intercepted by Jair Hill. That's the freshman cornerback following a block to the 10-yard line, and he's out of bounds. But this one is coming back to the defensive line, jumping off sides.
And that was not a good throw by Tuttle there, flat out.
No.
He threw that right to Jair Hill. Got to feel good for some of these freshmen, though, to get out here. I mean, even though it's called back and whatnot, to get to feel that in the big house, make that play with the live crowd, with officials on the field. Obviously, you can't recreate the real thing, but still got to be a cool opportunity.
3rd down and 3 for the blue team here to kick off the 3rd quarter. Tuttle back in the shotgun. Drops the pass, rolls out to his right. He's going to keep the sting, puts his head down, taken down by Kayshawn Bennett right at the line to gain. And they're going to give him a 1st down. So Jack Tuttle keeps again. That's his 6th carry of the day, and now half of his carries have been for 1st downs. He's 3 of 6 when he carries it to give the blue team a fresh set. He's not scared to run it, is he?
No, he isn't. And that's something that we've seen with J.J. McCarthy, and for Tuttle to be able to come in here and the staff to be able to run a similar offense has to be huge for his chances of getting that backup spot.
11 minutes to play, 3rd quarter, 7-7 ball game. Benjamin Hall in motion from right to left out of the backfield. He gets the catch, and he is going to be torn down immediately by McBurrows, 5 yards behind the line of scrimmage. That's a heck of a play by a kid vying for that 2nd cornerback position.
Yeah, and we've seen these DBs all over the field making plays, and this is, again, still a ton of offseason to go, but this spring game is going to be something that coaches can come back to and look at when they're trying to make those roster decisions coming into summer ball for who will start off in that CB2 spot.
Seemed like Alex Orgy was pretty dedicated to throwing the football there to Hall out of the backfield no matter what. So Jack Tuttle is back in at quarterback as we're knotted up at 7, just over 10 minutes to play. Tuttle takes the snap. Delayed handoff. Benjamin Hall, he is tackled and swallowed in the backfield by Derek Moore, the edge rusher, back at the 12-yard line. That'll bring up a 3rd down and about 20 for the blue team. They are going in the wrong direction to start the 3rd quarter.
And big number 8 in the Maize, Derek Moore. He's another guy. I know I'm saying this about everyone, but he's another guy I'm really excited about for next year. I'm excited for him getting off the edge and to see what he can do in some more playing time with no more Mike Morris.
They're pretty loaded up with potential, aren't they?
Absolutely. He was a 4-star guy, I believe.
2 receivers split to each side for the blue team on 3rd down and 20. Freshman running back Cole Cabana to the right of Tuttle in the shotgun. Has a snap, steps up in the pocket, flutters one over the middle, caught by Cabana at the 14-yard line, and he is tackled by Jimmy Rolder. So we had some room to operate if the ball wasn't tapped at the line of scrimmage by a defensive lineman. It's only a gain of 2 yards. It'll be 4th down and 18.
And we saw Davis Warren get loose on the sideline here. Looks like he'll be coming in for the Maize team and head coach Mike Hart on this next drive.
As we peer over to that far sideline, J.J. McCarthy is not in uniform, so we figure his day is done. Snap back to Tommy Dolman, whose heels are on the goal line, spirals this kick inside Maize territory where Jake Thaw backpedals and calls for a fair catch at the 38-yard line right in between the hashes. So 1st down for the Maize team, and we get our first look at the former walk-on quarterback from Los Angeles, California, Davis Warren, who will be battling Jack Tuttle and Alex Orji for that backup quarterback spot.
And he looked pretty good last year in the limited opportunities we saw him. I was calling that second half against Hawaii when he got a lot of tread. And he made some big plays in that game. Had a nice pass over the middle of the field to tight end Max Bredesen that ended up being a pretty big hookup. But I'm excited for Davis Warren to see what he can do here in the spring game.
He slowly backpedals into the pistol set. Tavier Dunlap is the running back behind him. Straightaway handoff to Tavi, trying to get around the right side at the right hash. And he's taken down by the former UCF transfer Cam Good. A loss of a yard. J.J. McCarthy started and played the whole first half for the Maize team. Goes 7 for 10. One score and one pick for 84 yards. He was also two-hand touched one time for a sack by Josiah Stewart. Maize team was led rushing-wise by Leon Franklin, 5 carries for 16 yards. And on the receiving end, Peyton O'Leary looked pretty good. 3 catches for 40 yards. Josiah Stewart led the way with 4 tackles. So we also look at him for the first time. He's still on the field, lined up as the left side edge rusher for the blue team. Today coached by Jay Harbaugh. Warren gets a low snap, drops, looks, throws right side, almost picked off by one hand by Nakai Hill Green. But there are 2 flags down right at the line of scrimmage, and guess who was right there? It's number 5, Josiah Stewart. It looked like he was dragged down and held by the Maize team.
And Zach, looking at this game, obviously there's been a ton of different combinations of offensive linemen, and with the offensive line, it's hard to pick out one guy that's playing really well or not. But there's a number of battles on this offensive line that are going to be going on for the starting spots next season. Obviously, a couple of transfers in Miles Hinton and a number of other guys coming in to fill a couple of spots, but Michigan returned a lot of those guys as well, like Carson Barnhart.
Second down and 21 for the Maize team. Second holding penalty on Trente Jones today, playing right tackle for the Maize team. Penalty flag down, far sideline. Davis Warren airs it out, deep left side. It's picked off by the blue team. Now it falls incomplete. Oh boy, I'll tell you what, Amarion Walker had his hands on it, then it fell down to the turf. But I think the blue team is going to get penalized here for jumping the gun a little bit.
And you can see he looks like he's 6'3" out there. That size, so imposing on the outside at corner.
Penalty goes against Tyler McLaurin, who has made the change from linebacker to defensive end for the blue team.
And Amorian Walker's a guy that maybe to start the season, he's not in that number 2 spot, but I wouldn't be shocked if by the end of the year he's played his way in there, getting more experience as the year goes on.
You mentioned it earlier, 2 tall, lengthy cornerbacks. Amarion Walker, 6'3", Will Johnson, 6'2".
And you need that going up against Marvin Harrison.
In the backfield, Tavier Dunlap takes the handoff right in between the tackles. He makes his way to the 38-yard line before he's tackled by the blue team's Chris Jenkins, who is the captain for that squad.
And obviously no more Mozzie Smith in the middle for this Michigan team. So it's going to be a combination of guys like Kenneth Grant, like Cam Good, that are going to have to step up and make those plays.
Haven't really mentioned the name Mason Graham today.
Yeah.
Plays for the Maize team. We've talked a lot about the interior defensive line for the blue squad. 3rd down and 13 here. Warren lines up in the shotgun. Franklin's to his left. 2 receivers wide to each side on 3rd and 13. A little over 4 minutes to play here in the third quarter. Dumps it over the middle. That pass is complete. Matthew Hipner, open field to the 40-yard line, 30. Still running 25-20, and he trips over his own feet inside the 15. The turf monster got a hold of Matthew Hipner on a big-time pickup. Davis Warren found him wide open, and you know what that play was reminiscent of? The 2021 pass across the middle to Eric All.
Yeah.
Now, the only difference between that and then is that Eric All didn't fall down.
All got into the end zone, but Hipner there, he got on his horse. He took off. He wanted that bad.
He's a guy waiting for his chance, I'll tell you that. 6'5", 245, the senior from Burke, Virginia, looking for some more playing time. Jake Thaw in motion left to right. O'Leary is wide to the left. Christian Dixon is wide to the right for Davis Warren. Fakes the handoff to Leon Franklin. Backpedals. Throws end zone. Incomplete. There is a flag down right next to a wild towel in between the 5-yard line and the end zone. But I think this is going to be a holding call on Amorion Walker.
Yeah, he got a whole lot of 81's jersey, Peyton O'Leary.
That's a matchup that you and I have been watching for the majority of this spring game. Peyton O'Leary's got the best of number one a couple times as Amorion Walker is officially listed on the roster as a receiver cornerback.
And he's another one of these guys. We saw them do it with Mike Sainristil and have tremendous success. When the receiver room gets a bit too crowded, they say, hey, listen, you're an incredible athlete. We want to get you on the field somehow. I don't think we can do it at receiver, but we're going to find a way to get you some playing time.
And the call on the field is offsetting penalties. There was a second penalty flag down on the near sideline because Reese Atterbury was too far down the field, the right guard, and there was pass interference on Amorion Walker. So penalties offset. First down and goal from the 10-yard line. Straightaway handoff. Leon Franklin is going to be dragged down from behind by guess who? Josiah Stewart. Gain of 2. Second down and goal from the 8.
And we've said his name a lot today. That's a good sign going into next season because outside of cornerback, too, that's another one of the kind of smaller question marks is you lose 3 of your top edge guys. Who's going to be the one to step up off the edge? You bring in Stewart, Braden McGregor. You expect to have a bigger role. Derek Moore.
Jalen Harrell should be great again.
Exactly.
3 receivers wide to the right for the Maize. O'Leary's out there. Clemens out there. Dixon was out there. Now he motions to the left side, just above the numbers. Ball's lined up at the left hash, 8-yard line. Second down and goal with number 16, Davis Warren, wearing his all-Maize uniform in the shotgun. Throws right side. Low pass, incomplete, intended for O'Leary. They're testing out these different cornerbacks for the blue team. That time it was Miles Pollard who had pretty good coverage.
And Pollard's a guy we've seen kind of bounce all over the place on defense, trying to find him a spot where he fits best. I believe he was listed as a safety last year, now moving over to corner.
Came in with his twin brother, Micah Pollard, who plays linebacker for the Maize team today. So third down and goal from the 8-yard line. 8 minutes to play in the third quarter. 7-7 tie at the spring game. Warren has the snap, back to throw. Looking right, floats it across the middle. It is complete, but down to the turf goes Darius Clemens, who scored in this game a year ago. So the turf monster makes yet another appearance as Clemens falls down at the 3-yard line. So the Maize team can opt to take the lead here with a field goal, but this is the spring game.
Exactly. Well, whoa. Let's not act like there's nothing on the line here. There's a fantastic
hot
steak
dogs
dinner.
And steaks are on the line from this nutrition team that Michigan has, led by Abigail O'Connor. Fourth down and goal from the 3. A tight bunch to the right side. Clemens, Thaw, and O'Leary. One-on-one coverage to the near side. Hibner against Amorion Walker. Hibner had the big pickup on this drive. Timeout called by the Maize team. So, Mike Hart wants to talk it over with his staff. That includes defensive coordinator Jesse Minter, and I think maybe Sharon Moore, who is a part of the blue coaching staff today, looks across the field and says, good luck. This isn't your expertise, Jesse.
Yeah, Blake Corum, I believe, is the running backs coach in this game for the blue team. He's obviously not suited up, but
they had both Blake Corum and Donovan Edwards on the blue team. That was how the draft went.
But they're not
Both
playing.
of them are not playing.
But I mean, they knew that going into this.
The Maize team had Will Johnson.
Yeah.
The Maize team is also without Mason Graham and Trevor Keegan in the second half. They both only played for the first 15 minutes for Keegan, 30 minutes for Mason Graham. So out of the huddle and to the line comes the Maize team from the sideline. They have backed the blue team all the way down to the 3-yard line. 3 receivers in the set. Thaw on the left, Joe Taylor in the slot right. Darius Clemens one-on-one, top of the field. In motion goes Jake Thaw, left to right. Fake handoff to him. Davis Warren right up the middle, can't get there. Taken down by Tyler McLaurin and Nakai Hill Green. How big is it that that kid is back from injury here for 2023?
Absolutely. We talked about a couple of linebacker transfers coming in, but it's like you're getting another one in Nakai Hill Green who knows the system. Like you said earlier, missed all of last season with that hamstring injury. This team's hoping he'll be back all season because he's a big difference maker in the middle of that defense.
They really had to lean on Junior Colson, Michael Barrett, and the freshman Jimmy Rolder to make a difference last year, and they all did. They were all really good at linebacker.
Especially Rolder stepping up down the stretch.
I think it's a big year for him as well. So Alex Orgy's in the shotgun for the blue team, standing on the H in Michigan in the end zone. Straightaway handoff. Benjamin Hall kind of got bounced around a few times, but he's taken down at the 10-yard line by Dominic Gadis, who started at defensive line, transitioned to the offensive line late last year, and now he is back on the defensive line for the Maize team.
When you bring in as many offensive line transfers as this team did, they are certainly not short on depth in that spot.
2nd down and 4 upcoming after a good pickup from Benjamin Hall. Samaj Morgan, the freshman receiver, in motion from right to left across the set. Joins the trips left. Hall now goes that way as well. Orgy keeps around right end of the 10-yard line, puts his shoulder down 15, and he's tackled by safety R.J. Moten at that spot. The blue team, you can kind of tell they drafted around the fact that they could run with the quarterback position. Alex Orgy and Jack Tuttle have both kept the ball pretty well so far.
You see that, and then obviously the Maize team, they know that J.J. McCarthy is wearing that white shirt, so you don't want to run him a lot, and Davis Warren more of a pocket passer.
The other quarterbacks for the blue team are Brandon Mann, two-sport athlete on campus, also on the roster for the baseball team, and Jaden Denegal. No action for either of those two so far. Alex Orgy fakes the handoff. He'll go back around the right end, but Rayshawn Benny right there. That was a long mesh hold between Hall and Orgy, and it's a loss of a yard. That'll bring up 3rd down and 11.
And man, a local product coming from Detroit Country Day. Like you said, two-sport athlete here on campus.
2nd down and 11 coming up. Jack Tuttle back into the game at quarterback for the blue team. .5:15 and rolling here from Michigan Stadium in the 3rd quarter. 7-7 game. Blue team stood strong inside their own 5. Got the ball back, and they have it here. Tuttle back in the shotgun. Rifles a throw right side. Complete at the 24. It's a nice catch by Freddie Moore. That's a freshman receiver. Tackled by another freshman, Jair Hill. And they are just short of the 24-yard line. They'll give him the 23, which will mark us up at 3rd down and 2. Good to see a freshman on freshman, both guys playing pretty hard there, Moore against Hill. A tight bunch to the left side, splitting the hashes. The ball is on the right hash mark where Raheem Anderson, the center, has it. Quick snap, Tuttle has it. Hands off, Benjamin Hall. Quick space up the middle, gets a pick from one of his own men to the 35-yard line. And a scrum continues to move towards the middle of the field, moving in the right direction for the blue team. And they pick up a 1st down and plenty more, all the way up to the 38-yard line. Tell you what, Benjamin Hall in his last 2 carries has looked really good.
Yeah, and you saw Amir Herring there kind of fist pumping. He was amped up at Hall, just carrying the pile there.
It's another freshman. That's 4 consecutive names that we've mentioned that are all freshmen. Jack Tuttle is a newcomer as well, so we figure that we will hear a lot about these newbies wearing a Michigan uniform come the fall. 1st down and 10 from the blue 38-yard line. Tuttle fakes a handoff to Benjamin Hall, trying to get away from one. Ball's loose on the ground, picked up by the Maize team. Jimmy Rolder has it to the 29-yard line. So the blue team loses a fumble. The Maize team has lost a fumble today, and both teams have thrown an interception. So the Maize team gets it right back in positive territory, 28-yard line moving from right to left.
And Chris Jenkins on the sideline couldn't believe it. He had his hands up on his head. That just shows these players want to win this game. This doesn't mean nothing to them.
Oh, it's bragging rights over your own brothers.
Absolutely.
I'll tell you what, as a manager of the team these past 2 years, The spring game was personal for the managers, too, because they draft managers as well.
What
And
team
so
were you
we
on?
would play a 7-on-7 game. My team ended up winning both the 7-on-7 and the spring game last year. I was a part of the Maize team. Davis Warren led the Maize team to the victory last year.
You get the steak dinner too?
No. Davis Warren is in the shotgun with Tavier Dunlap to his right. 3 receivers wide to the right for him. Back in the shotgun, looking right whole way. Lofts it deep down the right sideline. Man out there, but it's picked off. Coming the other way is the blue team at the 15-yard line. 20. It's Pollard with it. Pushed out of bounds at the 31-yard line. Davis Warren looked at him the whole way. It was intended for Peyton O'Leary. And Miles Pollard comes away with it. I'm sure he had a couple of things to say to that Maize sideline where his brother stood over there. And just like that, the blue team has it right back.
What a roller coaster of plays that was right there.
Are we sure this is the spring?
I hope so, because
You don't want to see these turnovers.
I don't. I don't want to see turnovers like that come September.
The clock shows 3:24 on what we've kind of estimated as maybe a 7-by-4 scoreboard in the north end zone, right behind the pylon of the field goal post. Alex Orji with the snap, throws quick right side. Oh, Freddie Moore got blown up by Jair Hill. Still made the catch, and it's good for 6.
I
Second
still
down
don't
and
know
4 at the 38-yard line.
how you can see that scoreboard down there.
Well, the binoculars help.
Oh my God, that is so small.
Remember, we're dealing with no scoreboards here today from Michigan Stadium. Alex Orji out of the huddle and to the line. 2 receivers wide left, 1 to the right. 2 freshmen in the set, playing wide receiver for the blue team. Benjamin Hall, a freshman running back to the right of Orji. Takes a straightaway handoff, trying to figure out where to go across the 45 and up to the 47-yard line. That kid looks really good, man. I'll tell you what, Jimmy Roller tore him down.
That's something that we've seen from Michigan year in and year out is they produce solid running backs. They recruit the running back position well. They haven't always gotten the number 1 running back in every class. In fact, they've done really an excellent job of developing some high 4-star guys into really good players.
And they've found guys that fit. A.J. Barner back into the game at tight end. Motion man from right to left. Here's another handoff to Benjamin Hall. Runs into the back of one of his own men, Christian Bartholomew. And he finds his way down to the 45-yard line. So now inside Maize territory. It'll be 2nd down and 3.
And I said high 4-star guys. I mean, they're taking 4-star guys, even 3-star guys and lower rated out of high school. Hassan Haskins was a 3-star guy coming out of high school, and look what he did.
Ended up having a good year for the Titans, too.
Yeah,
They're
NFL
backing
guy.
up a guy named Derrick Henry. It's kind of hard to get the starting nod down in Nashville. Alex Orji in the shotgun behind Raheem Anderson with the ball down at the 45-yard line. Handoff to Cole Cabana, freshman running back, and he is swallowed up and covered up by Ernest Hausman and Keyshawn Bennett. Might as well throw the name Rayshawn Benny in there as well. A triple tackle for the Maize team. 3rd down and 1 coming up for the Blue Squad.
And Rayshawn Benny's another guy on that interior D line that's going to rotate in there a lot more this season. We saw him somewhat sparingly last year, but expect him to get a lot more run.
60 seconds to play here in the 3rd quarter. 3rd down and 1. Ball at the 43-yard line, moving from left to right for the blue team. Alex Orji, the big running quarterback, has the ball. Hands off to Benjamin Hall. No, he keeps it around left end. He's got some space. Picks up a block at the 40-yard line to the 35 to the 30, and he's pushed out of bounds by R.J. Moten. Him and Benjamin Hall have worked really well together on these last 2 drives about when to give and when to keep, and Alex Orji tricked out both Kelin and I there for a 1st down. Ball placed at the 32-yard line. And the blue team picks up a fresh set. So a good drive here from Alex Orji so far. They send Samaj Morgan to the right, Will Rolap to the right, and Freddie Moore to the left out of the huddle. Back in the shotgun is Orji. Freddie Moore in motion from left to right, handoff to Hall. Tries the left side, 25-20. He's off into the clear, 15, 10-5, left sideline, into the end zone. Oh, no, they call him just short at the 1-yard line.
Somebody tell Benjamin Hall he's short.
The officials spoiling the party in the end zone for Benjamin Hall because even the public address announcer called it as a touchdown.
Oh, that was
the
really
whole
close.
way.
I think he had that too. I think he just didn't completely straighten himself out. He stayed on that angle. I think he had that. He was so excited.
Well, the only review that we have is on the small video board on the far sideline at the 20-yard line. So let me throw on the binoculars and take a second look. It was really well blocked, and he was chased down by just one man. That was a heck of an effort from Zeke Berry.
Certain song from the Killers is coming over the speaker setup that they've got on field level, and
they're going to give Mr. Brightside a go here from Michigan Stadium.
Student section's pretty empty, and by pretty empty, I mean there's not a single person in the traditional student section.
I know there are quite a few students out here today.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But sections, I think it's
But I think they packed up
33
the far side of the field, I think, to look maybe a little bit better for Big Ten Network. Where did you go? You left me there. You had to take a bathroom break in the middle of a third down carry?
I mean, I was gone for like 10 seconds. I don't know how I would have been that fast.
It was quick. I didn't necessarily time it because I didn't think I had to. I think they're going to continue with the call to mark him short here because the offense is still going to be on the field.
This just gets me excited for next year, talking about the student section and everything. I mean, this is just such a special place and such a awesome team and atmosphere in the fall on Saturdays.
So to begin the fourth quarter, it'll be first down and goal after the nice carry from Benjamin Hall, where I think everyone here in the stadium thought it was a touchdown, except for Zeke Berry, maybe.
It's got to be going to him, right? It's got to be going to him.
You got to give it to him. 28's in the backfield as we await the media timeout to conclude. It's still a 7-7 tie as we begin the fourth quarter. Alex Orji, the quarterback in the shotgun, lines up at the 6-yard line. Raheem Anderson is the center. Two receivers right, one to the left. Orji, straightaway handoff. Benjamin Hall. Did he get in this time? No, he didn't. Just short. Guess who? Zeke Berry on the tackle alongside Jaden McBurrows. That was an awkward exchange in the backfield between Alex and Benjamin. I think maybe they gave him half a yard there.
Yeah, it looks like he got a little bit closer, but
the ball was at the 1, so they moved it a whole foot and a half up the field. The blue team's helmets are in the end zone, and Benjamin Hall's the running back to the left hip of Alex Orji in the shotgun. He now motions him to his right side. Handoff. Benjamin Hall puts a shoulder down. This time he's in. Touchdown, Michigan. It's the blue team as he runs right over Jimmy Rolder. And Benjamin Hall has just cashed in to give the blue team their second lead of the day. It's 13-7. The blue team is that much closer to that steak dinner they've been working for quite a while now.
Yeah, no doubt about that one there. Benjamin Hall can celebrate freely. He's in for 6.
That was the second down carry. I think third and fourth down also would have gone to 28 in blue. Charlie Menser on to attempt the extra point for the blue team to make it a 7-point lead. Greg Tarr will snap. Joe Taylor will hold. The holder is a new position for Michigan as well since Brad Robbins has moved on. The extra point is up, and it is good. So Charlie Menser has given the blue team A 7-point lead on a Benjamin Hall 1-yard touchdown carry. Here from the WCBN Radio Booth, the Maize team will take over on offense, and we'll hand it over to Kelin Flynn.
Yeah, excited to get to do play-by-play as I'm excited to be with you all for all of next season. I don't think I'll be on quite every game, but I plan on being in the booth, being a familiar voice you hear on Saturday afternoons, talking some Michigan football. As this is what the spring game's all about, just getting a preview of what's coming about 4 or 5 months from now. This is an exciting team that should yet again be competing for a Big Ten title and a spot in the college football playoff. Jim Harbaugh and company, that's the expectation, that's the tone.
You think these teams look good now, the Maize and the Blue teams.
Just
imagine when they put it all together. When the glue connects.
Just wait till they're not playing against each other. Away we go, and the action resumes. Another fair catch. That's what the trend has been. I'm sure both of these coaching staffs have said that, hey, we're not taking any kicks out. There's no point in subjecting either of these squads to that. They're really different teams, but one family.
Well, Keyshawn Harris has been, it seems like he's eager to take the ball out because I think that'll be another spot to compete for this year. I don't know if Roman Wilson will take out kicks. We don't see A.J. Henning today. A.J. was in street clothes before the game. He was dealing with an injury through all of bowl prep and then even after.
Davis Warren will be in the shotgun for the Maize team. Claps his hands, takes the snap, hands it off up the middle. That's number 34, Leon Franklin. He picks up about 3. And so this Michigan team, or excuse me, this Maize team, they're down 7. They're looking at hot dogs in about an hour and a half from now, if they don't, about an hour or so probably, if they don't get this thing turned around, whereas the blue team, they're licking their lips ready for a nice steak dinner.
The interior defensive line for the blue team continues to be strong for them. Cam Good and Kenneth Grant in there right now.
Empty set. They motion Franklin into the left of Warren. Warren claps his hands, drops back, looking, pumping, going to roll left out of the pocket. Throws it to Franklin right at the sticks, and that's enough for the first down. Nice job by Davis Warren. Breaks the pocket, shows off the athleticism, keeps his eyes downfield, and delivers a nice pass to Franklin.
He was able to extend the play really well, and Davis Warren just kind of opened up his shoulders and threw it with a flick of a wrist. And Leon Franklin was just kind of hiding in between the sideline and the pylon, and he got enough for a first down.
And Franklin's so small. Does a great job of holding on to the football there. Warren in the shotgun again. Franklin to his right, claps his hands, drops back, looking left, and that pass is off the fingertips of Joe Taylor, a little bit high, but he couldn't quite haul it in. So that'll bring up 2nd down and 10 for Davis Warren and company.
Pretty impressive, the hands that Michigan's equipment manager had over on the sideline. That's my former boss, Sonny Anderson. He was a good running back for Northern Michigan. It bounced high, and he somehow came down with it, and he got some pats on the backside from a couple of the other staff members.
Warren in the gun yet again. Change it. Running back. That looks to be Dunlap back there. And he'll be brought down after a pickup of 5. He went right, and a hole opened up. That offensive line, Trente Jones and Reese Atterbury paving the way.
I'll tell you what, I've been impressed with the running backs today in terms of being hit and not being taken down on first contact. I've been really impressed with the fact that they have stayed on their feet for the majority of this ball game. And of course, there's been 2 fumbles, one by a quarterback and one by Leon Franklin. But for the most part, they've played through contact really well.
Warren in the pistol, Dunlap behind him, claps his hands. He brings Cornelius Johnson in motion. Another handoff to Dunlap. Dunlap got enough for the first down and more right up the middle, tackled just short of the midfield line. Ball be marked at the 48.
And what I just said continues to be true. He got hit at the line of scrimmage by that defensive line. that we've talked about a lot today for the blue team, and he stayed on his feet. And for the first time, the Maize team was able to run a counter trap there. They exposed Kenneth Grant to bit on the inside fake, and going around him was Tavier Dunlap, and he was able to find some space for what was really a first down right up the middle for the first time.
Couple of nice runs from Dunlap. He sticks in the game to the right of Warren. Warren claps his hands a couple of times. Will hand it off again to Dunlap. They'll keep it on the ground, but nothing doing there. A horde of blue jerseys bring down Dunlap.
I think that's right on cue. The defensive line, I just mentioned that they got exposed on a trap. Michigan runs a similar play to the other side of the offensive line that time. And the defensive line for Michigan really stood up. And I was most impressed on that play with Josiah Stewart because he suffocated that play back into the inside.
Ike Iwana was the one that looked like he brought him down with a couple of helpers around him. Franklin back in the game behind Warren. Peyton O'Leary on the near side. They bring a corner blitz. They pick it up. Warren looking downfield. Has O'Leary. O'Leary hauls it in inside the 20, and that's a big pickup for the Maize team and Coach Mike Hart. Corner blitz coming off the edge there, and they picked it up nicely.
And I'll tell you what, sorry, Kelin, Josiah Stewart was right in the face of Davis Warren. And on that throw earlier to Leon Franklin, it was a simple flick of the wrist from Davis. That time he was on his complete back foot, and again, just a flick of the wrist. He's not a massive guy, but the arm strength is completely there for Davis Warren. That was really impressive.
Warren hangs in the pocket there, delivers a strike despite the DB blitz from Cam Calhoun and the pressure from Josiah Stewart. Nice pickup there to O'Leary. Handoff now inside to Franklin. Nothing doing there. That stout front of the blue squad. They're getting right back into rhythm. Kenneth Grant was in there. And so it's back to the drawing board now on 2nd down and 10. 2nd and 8. They'll give him 2. And so they'll keep Franklin in the backfield. O'Leary all the way out to the left side of the field. They motion Joe Taylor across the formation. Clemens on the right side. Warren claps his hands, receives the snap, looking. He's got Clemens in the corner of the end zone and just overthrew him. Clemens made a nice cut to the corner on a corner route, and Warren just a step off there.
They had him earlier, and I think Davis wanted to throw that to Darius a little bit sooner, but I don't think that Darius was looking at him. He was covered by Amorion Walker, and I really like that they're testing number 1 right now, because we're going to see a lot of that through this offseason, is who is that number 2 cornerback, and he's looked pretty good today outside of that one penalty.
He really has. Warren's going to bring Joe Taylor in motion. Clemens out to the far left. Warren looking to Clemens again. This time he finds Taylor for a pickup of about 6 down to the 8-yard line.
One of the special things about this defensive backfield for Michigan, I think, is the closing speed of the defensive backs. That time, Cody Jones came flying in on Joe Taylor. Wasn't enough to knock the ball out, but he was right there to ensure no yards after the catch. We saw Zeke Berry earlier on that carry to Benjamin Hall that everyone thought was a touchdown. He came from the opposite side of the field to make sure that he did not score.
About 4 minutes to play here in the fourth quarter. 14-7 lead for the blue team. 8 minutes to play, sorry.
Kelin, that's a 9.
Oh. Does it really say 9?
Yeah, I'm telling you, it's confusing because it looked like 4
Oh my
minutes.
God, it isn't. Yeah, now
I
it's
told
8.
you there's an overhang on the scoreboard that makes it look like there's no
I was gonna say that. That
quarter
quarter
went by
flew
really
by.
fast.
Just under 9 minutes to play. 8:57, the official time. Maize squad is driving. They're inside the 10. I was so confident in that too.
Well, it does look like 4, but I'm telling you guys right now, I have all 10 fingers, and 9 of them were up, trying to tell Kelin how much time was left, and he simply just couldn't count it. So whatever school at Michigan he's in,
I'm in the same school as you. Hand off to Leon Franklin up the middle. He gets a nice push from that front for Michigan. Awaiting the signal. That's a touchdown for the Michigan Wolverines. The Maize squad. Leon Franklin puts it in, and they're going to row the boat. They all get into a nice line. 14-13 now, pending the extra point. And just like that, we've got ourselves a ball game. Tommy Doman on to attempt the PAT for the Maize squad.
That was just a good push by that offensive line. They haven't had much luck against that interior defensive line today against the blue team, but that time they got the best of them and they cash in.
Kick is up and pure from Doman, and we're all knotted up at 14 apiece here in the fourth quarter. 14-14, about 8 minutes and 30 seconds to go. And now the blue squad will get another chance to clap back and respond to that score. Orgy or Tuttle, we've seen both of them today. A lot of action on the ground for both of those blue QBs.
Well, it looks like the one getting the most of the warm-up right now is Jack Tuttle on the sideline.
And he's looked better throwing the football. We haven't really seen Orgy throw it too much. We saw the little bubble screen, but not much more than that.
I was really impressed with the way that Jack Tuttle was commanding the game in the first half. He then threw that interception, which was not a great throw. However, it was called back due to penalty. But I've been impressed with Jack Tuttle so far today.
Tommy Doman will boot it away. And that'll sail out of the back of the end zone. So the blue squad will get it at the 25-yard line. And running onto the field, it looks like that will be Tuttle.
Alex
No, that's
Orgy's in
Orgy.
there.
So number 10 leading the offense for the blue team. And as much as this game is about just trying to get guys reps and see where people slide in, again, both of these teams want to win this game as the ball's placed at the 30. Orgy in the backfield. He's got Benjamin Hall to his left. Orgy going to wait, clap his hands, drop back to pass. Pressure coming off the edge. Orgy hangs in there, throws down the field. He's got his man.
That's Freddie Moore. That's a heck of a catch.
And he did hold on to it. Moore with a big catch there. The freshman from the state of Illinois.
That wasn't a great throw from Alex Orgy, but it was really impressive that Freddie Moore was able to readjust to the ball. He had a wide open lane down the sideline, but he had to readjust to it and pretty much have some hang time over the safety on that side of the field, which was R.J. Moten.
The St. Louis native. Originally, Michigan was competing with Illinois for his recruitment. Michigan ended up winning that battle, obviously, and there's a handoff to the right side. Samaj Morgan, the West Bloomfield, Michigan native, on the carry there. He picks up a couple.
Ron Bellamy, the former head coach at West Bloomfield, is really, really high on Samaj Morgan. He was pretty darn good in the bowl prep when they got ready for the Fiesta Bowl. And now he's got a almost full offseason with the team under his belt, learning the playbook. And it's nice to see him get a jet there to see exactly what he could do in the open field.
He's a great athlete. Orgy brings more in motion. Handoff up the middle to Benjamin Hall yet again. He's going to be just a yard short. Push continues as he gets a couple behind him, and they're going to give him the first down. Initially was short of the first, but a late push, and Benjamin Moore able to pick up the first down. Ball marked at the 16-yard line. And just like that, the blue team driving all the way down the field. Alex Orgy with a long strike to Freddie Moore. Samaj Morgan on a jet sweep for 5, and then about 7 there from Benjamin Hall has the blue team in the red zone, position to strike. Dropping back is Orji looking end zone. Orji, oh, nearly a fantastic one-handed grab by Morgan. Couldn't hold on to it in the near corner of the end zone. Orji put the ball in a good spot. Just tight coverage there on the outside.
Yeah, chest-to-chest coverage from Jaden McBurrows. And we have mentioned all day who is going to be that cornerback 2. That was beautiful coverage by Jaden. He was right there with him, hip to hip the whole way, and finally he located the football and knocked it out of the hand last second of Samaj Morgan.
Morgan had one hand to make a play on the ball. Couldn't quite haul it in, but it was a nice throw from Orji. 6:33 on the game clock. Orji with Hall to his left. They bring him to his right. It's a handoff on the inside. Hall looking for space. Hall's got room. Stumbles down to the 5-yard line. Got tripped up a little bit. And he's kicking himself again. He had a chance to punch that into the end zone for 6.
It is only the 20-yard line and in on the north side of the stadium. That's the only side that anyone has tripped on, and that is 3 times now that we've seen someone just fall down.
We saw Hibner got tripped up early on a potential touchdown. He had nothing but green grass in front of him. And so
I'm interested that they brought, Khalil Mullings back into the game.
That's right. Mullings is to the left of Orji. Orji.
They might keep this here with Orji.
Going to bring Barner in motion.
Yep.
They do keep it with Orji. Orji trying to make a couple of men miss. He's got the angle here. But again, he gets tripped up and only picks up 1-yard line.
I think that one was a little more forced by Jair Hill. But, I mean, again, there's something about inside the 20-yard line, inside the red zone on the left side of the field.
And Orji's so big and strong, able to fight off defenders there. Broke a couple of tackles. But again, Hill knocked him off his balance there and able to drop him after a gain of 1. Ball marked at the 4. Orji in the shotgun. Got Mullings to his right handoff. Pickup of nothing there. Great push from that inside from the Maize team.
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt if the blue team gave Alex Orji another shot at maybe an RPO here with an opportunity to keep it for himself or throw a quick route to the end zone. Because one thing is true about this kid, when he throws the ball really hard. So I would expect maybe a slant route on the near side of the field and maybe Alex Orji with a chance to keep the ball because he'll have Khalil Mullings next to him. That's almost guaranteed.
And so it's Mullings to his left. They bring Morgan across the formation. Bunch set on the right side. Orji going to drop back to pass. He's got his man. That's Barner. Touchdown, blue team. A.J. Barner, the Indiana transfer, wide open on a drag route over the middle of the field, and that's an easy 6. Easy completion for Alex Orji.
And that's as Madden-esque as it'll get. They motioned a man over to the right side. They ran 3 over routes with the 3 receivers that were bunched to the right, and they just slipped the tight end right underneath. That's the same exact play that the Maize team ran for Matthew Hibner earlier in the game, but it just happened to go for 60-some yards. That one was for a 2-yard touchdown pass.
It's almost like these teams are with the same coaches every day and run the same systems. Like Extra point now for Menser is up and good. And the blue team up now 21-14. They take the lead right back after Davis Warren and company drive down the field for 6. And so now Davis Warren's going to get the ball back with a chance to tie it back up. 4:24 on the game clock. I'm pretty sure that's an accurate 4:24 now.
Yeah, that's not a 9. It could be 4:29.
That's true.
This has been about as unorthodox of a way to call a game as possible because there's no scoreboard. There's one, and it's very, very small in the north end zone. But there are no scoreboards that we're used to having at Michigan Stadium.
And we can't even see, like, the score. We can just see the clock at the top.
Well, it's 21-14 if you need the score, buddy.
That kick is popped
Short
high into the air, fielded at about the 22-yard line from Menser.
Yeah, Marlon Klein had like no clue that was going to come to him.
Almost looked like a sky kick to the fullback that you see sometimes.
Yeah. Well, you might as well pull out all the stops in the spring game, right? When you're battling your own teammates for some food.
I think those hot dogs are grilled or boiled.
They're grilled. They're grilled.
It's a big difference. Warren and company back out onto the field. He's got Clemens out to the far right side. Xavier Dunlap in the backfield with him to his left. Drops back to pass, looking for Clemens on the near side, and he's got it at about the 31-yard line.
I think that ball is likely picked if Amarion Walker doesn't hesitate. He seemed kind of hesitant in his back pedal whether or not Davis Warren was going to throw Darius Clemens the ball. And once I saw him kind of stutter, that's when he threw the pass and it was complete to him. He almost undercut it, but he decided to go safe and play the tackle.
Those are the kind of things that you just kind of get better with reps at the cornerback position. Empty set for Warren. He claps his hands, receives the snap, looking right, looks down the middle of the field now for Marlon Klein, and that pass is incomplete, overthrown. Klein covered tightly there by Keon Sabb, the sophomore safety.
And I'm still interested to watch as much of Amarion Walker at cornerback as possible. This time, Peyton O'Leary was the receiver. He ran the same exact route that Darius Clemens did, but Walker was right there in the passing lane just in case Davis Warren were to throw it. He saw him and elected to go downfield instead.
And Warren looked right back to that same route initially for O'Leary. Obviously looked off that time and went down the field for Klein. Warren going to change the play here. Leon Franklin in the backfield with him. Warren inside handoff to Franklin, and Franklin's going to be stood up after a pickup of 2. Cam Good was the one that got in there for the tackle.
This is pretty much going to be it for the Maize team. 4th down and 3. They might have a chance to get the ball back again because I think they've only called one timeout so far in the second half. And again, that'd be something that we could see if we had a scoreboard.
Marlon Klein motioned back to the near side of the formation. Franklin in the backfield with Warren. Warren claps his hands, steps up to Greg Crippen to bark out the play call. Franklin flips to the left side. 4 receivers in the formation. Warren looking downfield, got his man O'Leary, and that's caught at about the 45-yard line. Nice pitch and catch there from 16 to 81.
Peyton O'Leary has done an excellent job today of window shopping. He goes down the field, he sits in between 2 defensive backs or even linebackers in certain cases throughout this game, and he has just sat. And Davis Warren has been able to find him. Even J.J. McCarthy in the first half was able to locate where he was. He's now made a nice over-the-shoulder catch, and he's made multiple gut catches where he's been able to just catch it, fall to the ground, and not have to worry about losing possession.
O'Leary by far the leading receiver in this game for both teams.
He's got 4 catches in the second half.
Had 3 in the first for 40 yards. He's likely over 100 on the day. Warren going to look downfield for O'Leary again, and he hauls it in again.
There is a flag down in the backfield.
Have yourself a day, Peyton O'Leary. A nice contested catch there.
He's coming back.
And it's going to stand. Roughing the passer called.
Everyone on the blue team was pointing in the other direction. They faked me out. That's a heck of a catch, though, by Peyton O'Leary. And if pressure wasn't coming to Davis Warren, that was a touchdown because Peyton O'Leary had 2 full strides on what I believe was Amarion Walker, and Davis Warren underthrew him. It was a nice adjustment by O'Leary to come back and make a nice catch. But Warren, if he did not have pressure there, that's likely 6.
Like you said, O'Leary had to make an adjustment there to come back for the football, but still positioned himself well, kind of boxed out Amorian Walker to get position and haul in that football. Warren receives the snap, handoff inside for Franklin. Nothing doing there. A host of blue team defenders in there to wrap him up.
That interior D line continues to be strong for the blue team. If they want to run, they got to go outside.
Jaden Hood, I believe, was the one that eventually wrapped him up and brought him down, but he was able to get in there from his linebacker position because there were no holes in the offensive line. It was stonewalled by that front of Stewart, Grant, Jenkins, McLaurin. And so now the clock's ticking down. 1:50 to go. Under 2 minutes to play here from the big house. It's been a pretty good game. Tight game from both teams. A lot of action in the fourth quarter. Very back and forth. Davis, Warren, and company.
And this very well could come down to the 2-point conversion on this drive. The Maize team scores, of course.
And you've got to imagine they're going to go for it. They're not going to
on fourth down. Yeah. I don't think they'd play anyway if they went to an overtime. They'd probably just tie.
And so Warren brings Marlon Klein in motion. Timeout called by Mike Hart. He's going to bring his offense over to discuss the upcoming play.
You figure it's got to be a little frustrating for Mike Hart, who obviously is the running backs coach and wants to run the ball when I don't know exactly who drafted the teams. I'm sure a big part of it was Jay and Mike. But when the interior defensive line for the blue team is so strong and the Maize team wants to run the ball so bad, it makes it really difficult on a guy that wants to consistently pound the rock when now you have to throw it and you've got to depend on what wasn't a super good receiving room for the Maize team. But Peyton O'Leary showed up and showed out.
Absolutely. Davis Warren in the shotgun. Franklin to his right. O'Leary on the near side. Clemens far on the left side. Warren waiting for the snap from Crippen. Claps his hands, receives the snap, looking for O'Leary, and O'Leary is wrapped up there. Flag thrown easily. Amorian Walker putting his hands up like wondering where the flag came. He had fully wrapped his arms around Peyton O'Leary before that ball was thrown.
He gave him a bear hug, and Peyton pretty much only had 2 fingers to attempt to knock the ball down or catch the ball, that is. I think he was trying more to just play defense against Walker at that point.
And that's big because that's a
first down.
New set of downs now for the Maize team. And even if they don't punch it in initially, that's going to be less time on the clock for this blue team to potentially strike back if they're able to score here. Warren claps his hands, handoff inside to Franklin. Franklin barrels over a couple of defenders into the end zone. Touchdown, Michigan. Leon Franklin in for the Maize team. And they're all going to huddle up and celebrate together. They're a point away from tying it up, but it looks like they're going to keep the offense out here and go for 2 as expected. And so they're going to take their time to get the play call here. Warren going to go back and discuss with Mike Hart. 1:44 left on the game clock. So that's how much time the blue team will have if the Maize team's able to punch it in here. 4-2. If not, the Maize team's got to try to get the ball back. 3 receivers spread out. O'Leary on the far side. Franklin the back to Warren's left. Whistle blows, and there's a timeout for the defense and Jay Harbaugh's team. And so they're going to see what Mike Hart's offense brings out for the 2-point conversion. They'll call timeout and draw something up on the defensive side.
That was funny because I was looking over to Jay Harbaugh, and I saw him sprint down the sideline to call timeout. And then the Maize team, that they were all clowning with him. They all start clapping, and I heard one of them say, "You're nervous," all the way from this far sideline. I heard one of them say, "You're nervous," and then another one yell, "Come on," to try and get the blue team set up on defense.
And so, Zach, 2-point conversion here Who are you looking for if you're Mike Hart in this Maize team? Peyton O'Leary's been
You're looking for
your
Peyton
biggest
O'Leary.
playmaker all night or all afternoon.
You got to play 5 down linemen, drop back Davis Ward, and try to pass. If a lane opens up for Davis to run, he is a very capable runner.
O'Leary one-on-one on the near side with Amorian Walker.
They've got some help over the top, too.
Warren claps his hands. They bring Jake Thaw in motion to the right side. Warren talking to Greg Crippen. Drops back into the shotgun. Receives the snap. Late jump. And that's a 2-point conversion completed to Peyton O'Leary. Amorian Walker kind of got lost there. O'Leary hauls it in, and the entire Maize bench is on the field celebrating. Jaden McBurrows is heading over to the blue sideline to let him know.
What a day for Peyton O'Leary.
Everyone's tapping their heads, saying he went up and got it. He dunked on him. And so that's a 22-21 ball game now. Maize team on top behind a Herculean effort that drive from Peyton O'Leary.
And they're trying to defend their crown. They won the game last year on the back of Davis Warren. And we heard Jim Harbaugh give Peyton O'Leary comparisons to Cooper Kupp. I think at this point, Cooper Kupp wants to be Peyton O'Leary.
I don't know that I'm going to go that far quite
No,
yet, but Peyton
no.
O'Leary making his case for spring game MVP very evident. He basically took the Maize team down the field by himself there. Pass interference penalty on Amorian Walker when they were targeting O'Leary inside the 5. Sets him back up with first and goal, and then
He had the
Leon
long
Franklin
reception.
punched it in. So Tommy Doman will be the one to kick it away for the Maize team. That's another well-struck kick. It'll be fumbled at the goal line and whistled dead.
I think they're just getting the kickoff teams out there just to see formations and to get a live look, because no matter what, they're not taking these footballs out, because Benjamin Hall just dropped the ball in the end zone. And he tried to take it out. And after a delayed whistle, they all stopped. Kind of like Jim Harbaugh just expected them to not actually play it out.
The last thing you want is somebody on a kick return getting hit hard because these guys are going downhill at each other in the spring game.
Well, remember, the hardest hit of the game was against Peyton O'Leary.
That's right. That's right. Jaden Hood absolutely smacked Peyton O'Leary on an interception from, I believe it was Makari Page over the middle of the field.
Yeah. That didn't count.
Tuttle in at quarterback. He'll look to take off and use his legs. He'll be brought down from behind by Derek Moore. Gain of about 2 on that quarterback draw.
We're sitting at 130 right now. They only need a field goal.
1-point lead, 22-21 for the Maize team. Tuttle dropping back to pass, looking over the middle of the field. That pass is incomplete. Was looking for Zach Marshall over the middle of the field, right at that big block M. Incomplete, big hit.
Yeah, Zach's a big kid. He's 6'4", 220, all the way from California as a freshman, and he really got his first look today, and he wasn't able to hold on to it. It was a missile from Tuttle, but he threw it a little bit low and outside.
And a number of recruits in the building for the spring game today, all with their big Maize puffer jackets, watching on as some of their potentially future teammates do battle against each other. The whistle blows. The officials will come discuss real quick. In a game that's got to be one of the better spring games in recent years, coming down to the wire here.
I'll tell you, ever since Michigan started playing a team scrimmage, the games have actually been really good. They've been pretty even. Or a couple of years ago, they just did a team practice rather than an actual game. Mike Hart's out to the numbers to ask exactly what's going on, and we can't hear the officials' announcements very well.
Again, because there's no stadium-wide PA system. They've got some speakers set up at field level. But again, it's just cold metal bars out there behind both of the goalposts, where usually there's a big block M facing the rest of Ann Arbor, a scoreboard facing the stadium. You can see right through it to downtown Ann Arbor, or the golf course on the other side.
They have yet to expand the south end zone scoreboard left and right. The north one is set up pretty well. All they got to do now is put the casing on it and the screen.
As you see, one extra post on each side. They've got the bases in on the south side, just haven't quite put in the bars yet. Tuttle in the shotgun. Claps his hands a couple of times, trying to draw the Maize team off sides. Tuttle looking downfield, going to throw it to Cabana. Puts it in the dirt, though, behind number 24, the freshman from Dexter, Michigan. One of the better players at the high school level in the state this fall.
He was the highest recruit in the class for Michigan on what was a bit of a lighter cycle for the team, and I would expect it to get pretty hyped up from here on out, these recruiting classes. 19th overall this past cycle, and their 3rd overall in the next. But this is the game right here.
Tuttle claps his hands. They got a false start, or excuse me, an offsides as Tuttle goes down, but they're going to get a second chance at it here, it looks like. I couldn't quite see who that was. It might have been Rayshawn Benny that jumped.
It was Gadis.
And so
that's the second time he's been penalized now today.
And that's another thing that both of these well, really the one coaching staff is looking at in this game is, are you being disciplined with yourself on the football field? Tuttle in the gun. Cabana to his left. 4 receivers split out wide. A.J. Barner, the tight end transfer from Indiana, on the near side.
That's a big mismatch between him and Jair Hill size-wise.
Tuttle claps his hands. Looking, and that pass is nearly picked off.
But
it's not going to matter. That's ball game. Turnover on downs from the blue team. An excellent play on the ball. I believe that was
Keyshawn Harris.
Keyshawn Harris that made the jump there, number 36. But that'll pretty much do it. Maize team can just kneel out the remaining minute or so on the clock and fire up those grills, get those steaks hot, because the Maize team is hungry. Got some nice potatoes for a side, I'm assuming.
I'm not the one to ask.
Davis Warren in victory formation for the Maize team. He'll take a knee. And they'll probably need one more, but that's going to do it from the big house. The Maize team on top, Zach, in what was really a back-and-forth contest that both teams had their ups and downs, probably a few more turnovers than both coaching staffs would have liked, but it's April. We've got a long way to go till East Carolina to start the season week 1.
It's nice to see the Maize team even toss in a couple of the guys that would almost never make it into a real game. Declan Biles in there, Henry Donahue's in there, with Declan to take the final knee.
And with that, both teams will head onto the field. The Maize team celebrating, the blue team sullen in their walk back onto the field. The Maize team already has players at the other side of the field, and I don't think any of the blue players have reached midfield yet. Well, Zach, with that concludes the contest here. The Michigan spring game, final score 22 points for the Maize team, 21 for the blue. It came down to the final drive for the Maize team. Davis Warren, with under 2 minutes left, led his team down the field. It was Peyton O'Leary who had the 2-point conversion. Leon Franklin, the game-winning touchdown. And Jack Tuttle and company turn it over on downs. Zach, in this game, we've talked about a number of players. We talked about Amorian Walker a lot. Who stood out to you the most that you were most impressed with and are most looking forward to next season? Although you're not going to be in the booth for WCBN Sports, I know for a fact you're going to be following this team very, very closely.
Yeah, I mean, I would have to say Peyton O'Leary because of his effort today. It was superb. But then I'm also going to have to look at guys that were on the interior defensive line for the blue team. Although they lost, the fact that they were able to play so well on the interior defensive line and hold the Maize team to very limited amount of yards right up the middle. I'm looking at guys like Chris Jenkins, and that would be, the common answer to say for a guy that did really well. But Kenneth Grant today played super, super well, and I would expect him to get a ton of reps on the defensive line this upcoming season to be alongside guys like Chris Jenkins, to be alongside guys like Mason Graham come the fall. And
Yeah,
don't not to mention Josiah Stewart too. He was really, really good off the edge.
and we did say his name a lot. Ernest Hausman, another one of these transfers. We did talk about him too much. What did you see from him today?
He played fast and he filled holes really well, especially when they were running up the middle. When he was there, the ball typically tended to bounce outside, which is one of the most impressive parts of his game. And that's why he was starting the bud at Nebraska. And that's why it surprised me that he ended up transferring out. And that's one of the biggest pickups that Michigan got in the transfer portal. I was also pretty impressed with the job that the tight ends did. Outside of Colston Loveland, we don't really know the answer at the backup tight end position. A.J. Barner was pretty impressive, and I would say that Matthew Hibner played pretty well as well. Outside of tripping on what should have been a touchdown for him, Matthew Hibner was pretty impressive as a backup tight end for Michigan.
Absolutely. And Hausman, only a sophomore, Michigan gonna be able to develop him and see him grow. Well, this is the last Michigan football we're gonna see until September the 2nd, when the Pirates of East Carolina roll into Ann Arbor to start the 2023 season of football for the Michigan Wolverines. For myself, Kelin Flynn, my partner today, Zach Linfield, thank you so much for tuning in to WCBN Sports live coverage of Michigan football spring game. With that, I'd like to leave you as we always do with a good night and go blue.